David, thanks. The Trump administration proposing major changes to the federal Head Start program. They say the goal is to give states and local programs more flexibility and that it could preserve or expand as many as 236,000 Head Start slots nationwide.
However, that proposal would also change requirements for how much time children spend in Head Start, staffing, other services, which is raising concerns among early education leaders here in the state. Our Sam Goodman joins us now in studio to explain what these changes could mean for families. Sam?
Head Start serves some of the country's most vulnerable children, including right here in Wisconsin. And one of the proposed changes could cut the federal minimum for classroom time by more than half. Right now, Head Start programs are required to provide at least 1,020 hours of service each year. And under the proposed rules, that would be cut again to 500, totaling to just 10 hours a week. The Trump administration says reducing federal requirements would cut bureaucracy, save $2.2 billion, and give local programs more control. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. saying, quote, "We are removing unnecessary bureaucracy, strengthening nutrition and physical health, trusting parents and local communities, and opening Head Start programs to hundreds of thousands more children," end quote. But Ruth Schmidt, the executive director of Wisconsin Early Childhood Association, says that fewer hours will actually create a problem for working parents, and that the proposal would also remove federal staff to children ratios, decreasing the amount of attention students get while in the classroom.
And what they're trying to do here is say, put more children into classrooms. We're going to cut the pay you're going to get. We're going to reduce the hours that you can provide this care. And, good luck running a successful program.
Rule is still not final, and HHS is accepting public comments before a final decision is made. Cami, Chris, back to you.